Hi, welcome to your shipper update. I'm Mike Vincent. He's Anthony Smith, our lead economist. It's Thursday. I know what that means. Do you know what that means? You're about to find out. What's going on, my friend? They know what it means. They know.
It's Thursday. Initial jobless claims come out every single Thursday, and what we saw now, I mean, we're back into familiar territory. We're down into the 200,000s, getting into that mid-range, just around 260,000. So
you told me before you really wanted to kind of get away from this because that's a good sign when it's not that big of an attention. Are we there yet?
We're pretty much there. Now, all we really want to see as we kind of stay at this level, I'm not going to be too concerned with new pandemic lows, is are we going to stay in the mid-200s?
If it starts moving sideways, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't need to see down to 190 or anything like that, or down to 220.
Record lows.
Record lows ever, or anything like that. But I mean, that would be great for sure. But if we stay around that 250,000 mark, 260, great news.
That's back to the good old days when we come on 250.
Exactly. So looking at that kind of moderating trend. So good news there, of course, for those shippers out there. This is good news for them because they're seeing a little bit more tick up in employment, more activity, more people coming into their workflows. And so that's going to be a big one for those shippers because, of course, they're making the stuff. They're producing the goods. They're making sure these shipments go out throughout the country and all this other stuff. So this is going to be a huge need. And, of course, on the other side of that equation, we need to look at the consumption. So people being able to buy these goods, be able to really make these purchases. Now we're seeing the savings rate back down to also pre-pandemic levels. Fewer stimulus dollars throughout the economy, as we saw, this time last year and earlier on in the year. So what we're seeing now is, of course, we want to see a solid consumer base. We want to see good consumer conditions. And so even though we have inflation, it looks like consumer activity is still elevated. One of the big things that we're really going to have here, of course, without that, those stimulus dollars, people back in those jobs, people back to work.
So you're looking for all these indicators to move in concert with each other.
Exactly.
Give you a strong indication of what's going on.
Exactly, and that's going to be huge for those shippers, of course, rates and capacity, be able to get that stuff out, but really being able to make that stuff. And so talking about making that stuff, putting out new orders. In my next chart here, we're going to talk about, of course, in the orange, folks, I love it, the FOTRI, the flatbed outbound tender rejection index. And in the blue line here, I have durable good orders. And so looking at the durable goods orders report earlier on in or actually last week, we had the early release. Now we have the full release. We get a plethora of data. Everything is out now. So just kind of jumping out some of the numbers. The numbers I'm going to be talking about here are going to be the value. So it's not going to be actual number of stuff, but the value, the dollar amount. And I'm going to talk about it on a year-over-year basis. And so looking at the value for things like, so one of the numbers that jumps out to me for sure, new orders overall, up 17.6% year over year. So new orders are up an extraordinary amount year over year. On a month-to-month level, only up 0.2%. So that momentum is indeed slowing as we kind of expected. But there's such a backlog of unfilled orders. When we're looking at unfilled orders, that's still up. And it's been kind of hovering at that 0.5, 0.7, 0.9% month to month. On a year-over-year basis, unfilled orders are up 4.9%.
Okay, let me make sure I got this context right. New orders up 17%?
Year over year.
Year over year.
Yeah.
And backlog up 4.9.
4.9, roughly 5%. And so we're still seeing a lot of shipments coming out throughout the country. We're seeing 12.8 year over year for shipments. So really, of course, this is going to vary industry by industry. The other big one that we're looking at is inventories by stage of fabrication. And so for looking at that on a value basis for materials by stage of fabrication, we're looking at new work in progress. So work in progress is still, maybe it's not quite finished. Yeah. We're all work in progress, folks. I mean, the road is long. It's a marathon, So
work in progress.
We're work in progress. So right now, for all manufacturing industries, is up 3.2%. But like I said, there's some numbers that jump out for me. So looking at machinery, we're looking at that's up 15.9%. That's a pretty significant number. This one is not too much of a surprise here. Talking about furniture, that's another one that jumped out to me. That is also up double digits. I'm looking at it here. It's up 14.8%. So these segments that are really kind of, they're big, they're popular. We want these new machineries in place to manufacture more goods. I
was going to say, that's a pretty significant one to see machinery, work in progress, building machinery is up 15%.
Yeah.
So building machines to build more stuff is up 15%. That's a pretty strong indicator,
It's a pretty
right?
strong indicator, and that's that upstream that I'm always looking at for those flatbeds, keeping up with that capacity, but the shippers making more stuff. And then, of course, the people to actually work and make this stuff. So it all interconnects. And I mean, that's a brief update in 5 minutes of some of the areas of the economy that's really kind of looking to fire on all cylinders.
Now, I know we need to go to a break, but this is a strong indicator that we might be able to slide through any hiccups that are being caused by backup of inventory that may put that glitch in production later when it hits, right?
For sure. 100%.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Anthony. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow.